Happy Friday, welcome to the 3 Things I Learned, SaaS, sports, tech, and live events. This week, number 1, we're going to talk about Staples Center no more. Crypto.com is taking over the sponsorship name of the Los Angeles Arena. Now, there's a lot of reactions to this and something that we've learned in the 15 years that we've been dealing with sponsors and marketing. The first is the reaction that there's a concern that this might be Webvan 2.0. This might be another .com bubble where people are putting their names on this, and in a couple years it's going to be embarrassing when the company is no longer solvent and AEG has to find another partner. I can assure you, we've worked with brands and we've worked with businesses like AEG that there is a feasibility study done. AEG has seen the audited financials. If they were a standalone singular team, then I wouldn't think otherwise. But AEG planned for this in advance when they bought back their naming rights in 2019, something that Staples had lifetime rights to. They bet on themselves and they now have sold them to Crypto.com in a 20-year deal. I can assure you that the legal team has a contingency plan just in case a business does go under as well, because there's a lot of businesses that we think are not insolvent, and then something comes that we didn't see coming. Think BlackBerry, think Blockbuster Video, and others like that. Secondarily, what we've learned in the last 15 years on this is generally people, and there's an asterisk on this, on how well Crypto.com is going to activate around this, but two kinds of businesses generally do very well in sports marketing and in naming rights. The first is the commoditized business, where the difference between one business and another is really whether you like them or not. A good example is what Staples and Office Depot tried to do. They didn't do it very well, but they both put their names on buildings. If I took a common person like myself and I walked into a Staples or an Office Depot and we removed all the branding, we couldn't tell the difference between the two stores. They're just trying to create affinity, so when you need to get your office supplies, you go to one versus the other. That's the commoditized side. The other side is the emerging side, what we saw DraftKings and FanDuel do so well. BetMGM is doing a wonderful job of this as well, where you're creating something new and you want to be the brand that people tie it to. Now, Crypto.com might be scary to some people, but why this is such a wonderful bet is you have that trust transfer of people saying if they can afford to put their name on the building, and AEG and the Lakers are going to put their name on that building, then this must be a business that I can trust. So if I'm going to wade into crypto, I'm going to go with the one that has that kind of brand premise. It's going to be a very interesting deal to see unravel over the few years as people forget the name Staples Center and move on to Crypto.com and how they activate around it. But a lot of the knee-jerk reactions and Monday morning quarterbacks, they just don't understand the business all that well. That's number 1. Number 2, inflation and SaaS businesses. So we talk to a lot of SaaS company leaders, and we're in SaaS as well, and they don't know what to do about inflation. So if inflation is going to be 6%, it wreaks havoc on business models. Here's why. A lot of SaaS companies, not all, many of them are on consumption-based now, which is something that's changed in the last 10 years. Many of them are on longer-term deals. You sign up for a SaaS business, you're a SaaS vendor, you're signing a 3-year deal, a 5-year deal, and the like. Suites, premium seats, some season ticket deals, also the same thing on the sports side. And those generally have escalators. Those escalators are usually 3% to 5%, which has been enough to cover the cost of goods going up and inflation. But with inflation possibly being 6%, now vendors have to play the best guessing game when they're talking about long-term deals. Now customers are seeing this as an opportunity. Maybe I signed a 5-year deal or a 7-year deal that only has a 2% escalator, and now I'm getting a discount as it's going forward. We'll be keeping our eyes on the big players, Salesforce and the like, and how they approach this problem over the next year, because that couple of percentage points has a big impact on margins for a lot of businesses. That's number 2. And finally, number 3, something those of you who know me well will hear me say a ton from here going forward because I love it. If you want to fly, you got to wobble. The Wright brothers were the first to successfully fly, and James Altucher talks about it in his book. Now, how did they beat everybody else? How did they beat the scientists and the government? The Wright brothers owned a bike shop, and they watched kids learn to ride bikes all day long. And when a kid learns to ride a bike, when they start to wobble, if they get scared and put their feet down or they slow down, it slows their progress. They don't learn to ride as fast. But those who embrace the wobble, embrace the fear, and continue to build momentum, they're the ones who eventually ride a bike first. And that's what happened with them in flying. They weren't afraid of the wobble. They embraced it as they built speed. I can't tell you how applicable this analogy is to just about everything in life, specifically in running a business. Those of us who are willing to wobble might just be the ones who get to fly first. That's it for this week on the 3 Things. We're off next week. In the following, we've got a special one where we talk about our 11 interview questions, which is the question we get the most whenever we speak or advise. Everybody have a happy holiday. We'll see you in 2 weeks.